I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our first ever virtual spray event for employees and customers. With C&B Operations, I'm the Vice President of Precision Ag, Jeff Buick.
I'm Nate Jansen, a product specialist for C&B Operations.
Hello, I'm Matt Hatcher. I'm a product specialist from John Deere, focused in on coarse grain, so corn and soybean production.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Matt. This year, C&B Operations has been farming 160-acre plot of ground to showcase John Deere equipment and the agronomic advantage that it can bring to your operation. Now, the original plan was to hold a field day event where you would be able to come out to the field, hop in a sprayer, and operate this equipment and learn a little bit more about it. Now, due to the times that we live in, we decided to keep our customers and employee safety in mind, and we're excited to bring this event to you virtually. During this event, we'll be focused on the machinery features, functions, and technology that John Deere products bring to the marketplace, and the benefits that they have compared to the competition that we see in the marketplace today.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be taking a look at a whole bunch of different features and functions of our sprayers, primarily looking at an R4030 with a 90-foot steel boom, an R4045 with a carbon fiber boom, then comparing to an RG1100 Rogator AGCO sprayer, along with a Case Patriot 4440. Now, these sprayers aren't exact comparisons year for year and spec for spec. We use the machines at our disposal and try to give our best representation of the different features and functions of those machines.
Yeah, and we're going to have some comparisons throughout, so we'll compare the big sprayers from each brand throughout our presentation today, just so you have some comparisons. But just keep in mind in the videos that we have some different models compared to what some of the charts show as well.
Absolutely.
So for some of you, this may be your first Zoom meeting, so just want to go over a few logistics and housekeeping things here as you take a look at the Zoom webinar. So this should be the screen that you're seeing in front of you now. And just want to call out a few things that we have. First off, you will be muted throughout the presentation, so we don't have any background noise or anything like that. So you should see here in the bottom left-hand corner that you're muted. But we do want this to be interactive as well. And so if you have questions throughout the presentation, we do have a Q&A section located right here. So if you click that button, we have somebody at a computer here that can answer questions as they come in. And we also have folks on the line from John Deere and the Hagie factories to answer any questions that we may not have the answers to just right offhand. So those are just a few things with our Zoom meeting today that you can use on your end to ask questions of us. If you have any throughout the presentation, please be sure to utilize that, and we'd be happy to answer those questions as we go through the day today. So just talk a little bit about a few of the different things that we have that we're going to be covering today. Nate, you just kind of want to cover a few of those things quick for us?
You bet. So today is day one of a 3-day virtual training event. Today we're going to be focusing on machine features, so cab, suspension, boom, and also the service points. We do also have 2 additional days, so tomorrow and Thursday, also starting at noon Central Time. Tomorrow we'll be talking about the solution system, which includes the nozzle technology ExactApply, our pulsing nozzles on our sprayers, along with mobile weather and some precision ag features kind of scattered throughout. Now on Thursday, we're going to take a deeper look into our precision ag features and spend basically our whole session talking about the precision ag features, options that are available on our machines. Again, that's tomorrow and Thursday, also starting at noon.
All right, so let's get into today a little bit more and want to talk about some of the few high points as we take a look at our cab. And what you'll find through our presentations is that we've strapped cameras on and around these sprayers, as well as different fixed points on the ground, so that you can see the differences as we move throughout. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the cab, and for the explanation of the cab and to call out some of the features and benefits, we mounted a 360 camera in the cab so that you guys can take a look just as if you were sitting in the seat out in our plot. And as we take a look around at some of the features and subsets, we'll be calling out some of those things here today.
Yeah, so when we're looking at that 3D video, pay particular attention to, the surroundings. It really feels like you're sitting in the seat there, Jeff. Pay attention to looking out the right and left sides in front of you. Take a look at that visibility from the cab. Think as you're sitting in there operating the cab, what are some things that you like to control or you're adjusting as you're going through the field, and where are those located and how can I reach them?
Yeah, and when you take a look at some of these cabs that we have today, we're going to be calling out the Command View 2 and Command View 3 cabs. And so some of the things you see right away is just the visibility and the amount of glass that especially the John Deere and Hagie sprayers bring to the market. And with that comes a ton of safety as well. So you have a clear view of operation, whether it's traffic or people around you. People may be filling the sprayer. So there's a lot of benefits that I want to call out right away with that.
Yeah, safety is our number one concern as always, Jeff. And, right behind safety, operator comfort. You're in these cabs for a long period of time, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And, where are those creature comforts located at? How can I adjust them? How easily are they adjusted? Those things that you might have the air conditioning set to 68 in the morning and in the afternoon it gets a little hotter. You might want to cool yourself down a little more. How do you make those adjustments? Is it automated?
Right.
Features like that are in each of the cabs as well.
Yeah, and so there's also some customization that comes with some of the features as well. You'll find in the hydro handle, we'll call that out in the video here as well. There's a lot of different settings with the John Deere machine especially that we can customize a lot of the buttons to really form fit to the operator's preferences they move through the field. So let's take a step inside the cab into each one of these machines that Nate talked about earlier and take a look at some of those differences. So we take a look at the John Deere R4030 cab. You can get the Command View 2 Plus cab in either the standard or premium trim level packages. Here you can see that this sprayer is our premium cab feature. It's got leather seating. It is got a new hydro handle compared to what we had seen before in some of the 30 series sprayers. So it's designed to grip your hand better as you move through the field. It moves very smooth. We're not feeling like we're yanking that cable back and forth as we move throughout the field. It also has programmable buttons on it. So if there's functions and features that you want to be able to manipulate at one press of a button rather than reaching over on the side console, for example, you can program that into the hydro handle. We also have headland management system on here as well. So let's say you turn around on the headlands, you can set it up so it resumes auto steer, it resumes your boom height, and it could resume a rate as well as you head back through the field. That is located on the hydro handle as well. Just taking a look around the cab a little bit more, you do have the option of getting a tinted rear window, especially for those sprayers that don't have a larger tank. It's kind of a neat feature, helps keep the cab a little bit cooler as you work throughout the day. So we take a look to the left-hand side of the machine. We do have a wider door opening than we did before, so just ease of getting in and out of the cab is better yet. We do have the ability to pull down the front sunscreen shade so that, as you get later in the day or early in the morning, you can block out some of that sun from getting into the cab. It does have a cab air quality system in the rear corner post over here. It's an indicator to make sure that your cab is pressurized. John Deere offers a standard and a carbon air filter for their sprayers, and we highly recommend that you use the carbon filter for your health and protection. Also, as we take a look around the cab, just the ability for holding things like your cup holders, a place to set things like your cell phone fits over here along the right-hand side of the cab, as well as within the command arm. The command arm has been redesigned to match the other Command View 2 Plus cabs. We do have all of our lighting features are going to be located right here on the armrest, along with your cab climate control features are going to be on here as well, along with controls for things like the radio, all the way over to turning your pump on and off, to additional programmable buttons. You can control your ladder and so on. It does have a memory steering column, so one simple press of the button down here on the floor and you lift the steering wheel up to its locked position. When you get back in, you just tap that and pull it back down. For those that have been operating John Deere equipment since the Ott series tractors and newer,
This has been a feature that has been around for a while. We do have the ability to add an additional extended monitor, which is not pictured here. It would just go underneath the corner post display, but this does have an integrated corner post display, which shows you additional information about the machine, such as fuel, such as hydraulic pressure, your field speed, and the information that you need to know as you move through the field. There's also additional in-cab storage here behind the instructional seat on the left-hand side. So overall, as you move throughout the field, you're floating on a cushion of air with this seat. It does give you the ability to have greater visibility with the Command View 2 cab. There's a lot of glass that you can see out. We'll also cover it later in the boom design. You can see how they sit flatter when folded up. For those of you that had 30 series machines before, you may have noticed that the booms kind of were more angled, and it made it harder to see out the sides of the machines with the booms folded up. That has been improved. The other thing that's been improved besides the glass are the mirrors. You can see on this machine that we have 2 interior mirrors, and we actually have 4 exterior mirrors. We have one on the left boom, one on the right hand side of the cab, one on the right boom, and then we have the mirror coming off the frame on the right hand side looking back at our tires. So again, just visibility and safety as you move down the road has been improved as well. The other thing I'll call out in the cab here is the brake pedal on the floor. Not all sprayers on the market today have a brake pedal on the floor, but John Deere sprayers do have a hydrostatic brake that is included in the platform. Although we took this picture of the cab during the day, at night it looks almost just about the same, one could say. We do have an HID lighting package with our R-Series sprayers. We do have an optional halogen field lighting package. There's lighting on the boom center frame as well as additional cab and pathway lighting when you exit the cab as well. So the lighting package on this sprayer has definitely been improved to be aligned with other Command View 2 Plus cabs from John Deere. So whether you're spraying through the day or if you're going through the night, you have great visibility when it comes to this John Deere sprayer. The Command View 2 Plus cab offers greater visibility, as you can see here with the amount of glass that is in the machine. Currently, maximum visibility with roughly 70 square feet of large glass in this sprayer. There is not much that you guys are going to miss through these windows. We'll also note here that the R4030 and the R4045 that we've used for today's virtual event are the same cab package. All right, let's take a step inside the cab of our Hagie sprayer. And in this sprayer, again, we have quite a bit of glass to view what's going on for field operations with this sprayer. There's roughly 69 square feet of glass in the Hagie sprayer. The machine control display offers all machine functions right at your fingertips, so that's found right next to the hydro handle. Again, a little bit different controls here compared to your typical John Deere sprayer that you see today. However, they are integrating John Deere technology into this system. So this customer has the Gen 4 4640 display and extended monitor mounted in the cab here. There is a standard instructional seat for passengers. There's also storage on here for cell phones, manuals, and other documents. They currently offer 3 storage compartments and 2 cup holders. There is also in this sprayer some foot pegs that you can put your foot up on going through the field, so just an additional level of comfort while you're in the cab. One of the great things that Hagie provides as we look at the cab and the visibility and the height, one can't forget to call out the fact that the boom is in front of you. So you can take a look at everything functioning with the boom, as well as pressures and how your section valves are reacting as well. So a lot of that information is right out in front of you. To the right of the operator, we do have the control panel, which allows us to control the boom functions, pump functions, agitation functions. Again, switches are a little bit larger here than what you'll find on other John Deere sprayers, but again, very common to the Hagie brand and the Hagie lineup of sprayers that we've traditionally seen. On the control handle of the Hagie sprayer, you'll find that there are controls for the main boom lift up and down, control the wing lift up and down and in and out for both left and right wings. The master spray control is located on here as well. They also have programmable key on there for AWS, auto steer, or boom height as well. And you can also shift the transmission up or down from the hydro handle here, found on the right hand side. The pod switches off to the right hand side, we've got the ability to do boom rinse, tank rinse, manual control, your pump switch on and off, your tank switch, and your agitation switch.
Also on the MD4, that armrest screen that controls the machine functions, starting in model year 19, we had UC7 interaction with NORAC height control, and that armrest display will actually show when our height control is active or not, which basically removes, they call it a NORAC pulse display, where we currently set our height control on most Hagie machines. So the integration into that MD4 is just one more advancement, one more integration that John Deere's been working on. As we look forward on the hydro handle, also there was a change to the hydro handle in model year 20. They went to a more compact design. It's a little more ergonomic. And the nice part about the hydro handles on Hagie machines is they are universal to the STS machines back through 2014. So we can take this red handle and put it in a new machine or in an older machine, or take the brand new, more compact design and retrofit it back to a 2014, 2015 machine, and so on. If we look on the floor of the machine, there is a foot pedal there. Now there's an interesting thing to note about Hagie machines. There is no physical brake on this machine. And a change that happened in 2017, Hagie went to a new style wheel motor. And with that change, there's an integrated brake inside of the wheel hub, which does take a special oil that we'll discuss in a little bit. But the foot pedal on the floor of these Hagie machines is actually called a deceleration pedal. Those of you that run John Deere tractors, we've got deceleration pedals on the floor of our 9000 series machines. It does a similar thing here on a Hagie. You can set the percentage of deceleration. So essentially I can leave my hydro handle in the fully forward position. When I'm spraying, I come to the headlands. Instead of pulling my hydro back and trying to find the right spot to position that for my turnaround speed, I could set a percentage on my decel pedal to leave the hydro handle all the way forward, just push that pedal down. It'll slow down to say 25% of your overall speed, make my turn on the headland. When I'm ready to accelerate, I just lift my foot off the pedal again and go right back to my field application speed. Now this pedal can be adjusted 0 to 100% of whatever the full speed is on the hydro handle, so that will change depending on the gear and the position of the hydro handle. From the factory, they come at 0%. 0% is going to act like a brake, even though it physically is not a braking mechanism. So that deceleration pedal is a nice little feature included in the Hagie cabs as well.
So now we'll take a step inside the cab of our RG1100 RoGator sprayer. Here as we take a look at this sprayer, we're taking a look at a little bit more cab clutter. We've got a integrated display on the armrest here on the right hand side that comes from the factory with the sprayer. Displays kind of the corner post type information that you would have seen on a John Deere sprayer. But when it comes to technology, it's not integrated. So now we have an additional display up on the corner post of the machine that is going to start reducing the visibility out this cab windows. Now, in comparison to John Deere, the RG1100 is only going to have about 60 square feet of glass. So a lot less glass to really look outside the cab on. In addition to that, there's no option to tint the rear window from the factory. And we're also dealing with a little bit larger steering column here. So again, just a little bit more clumsy, if you will, a little bit harder to see around when you look forward. Also, as we look forward out the cab, there's a mirror on the left-hand side. The other interesting part is there's actually an exterior mirror on the right-hand side of the cab that you can't see, right? We can see the big air horns on the cab, but the Raven display actually blocks the view of that right-hand mirror as we see in the seat here. Furthermore, you'll see on this particular sprayer there's still a light bar mounted on the hood, so it's another place that you have to look to try to find things related to guidance. On a John Deere display, it's integrated right into the display itself. There's also no mirror facing back towards the tire treads here as well. You can see some mirrors that are on this sprayer. They're hidden underneath the boom, so if you're sitting low enough in the saddle, you can actually see the mirrors, but that becomes a little bit of a challenge as we move down the road. The booms do sit low in comparison to the cab, so visibility left to right with the booms folded up is nice about this sprayer. You do get a look out at traffic as you're crossing the intersection. The other thing is we take a look at the hydro handle here. It's got a heavy tilt to it in kind of more of a solid design, so it's a little bit more of a challenge, and the switches are very mechanical. So you know, if you have a thumb that's 8 inches long and really strong, you can throw them switches all day long, I guess, but it becomes a challenge sometimes to as compared to some of the hydro handles that we see from other manufacturers out there today. Instructional seat was not available through model year 14 with the RoGator series of sprayers. And there is limited storage space here with only 3 compartments and 2 cup holders in the cab. You get an additional 2 compartments with the John Deere sprayer. Display access and control is limited while operating and at spraying speeds. With John Deere's monitor right on the armrest, it's nice just to reach over and tap that. This one's got manual control display, non-touchscreen, and if you need to access your precision ag applications, you're going to be up at the corner post kind of leaning forward as you move throughout the field. So as we take a look at the key advantages of cab features of John Deere over the RoGator, the visible corner post display provides the operator with machine diagnostics at a glance, and it allows you to quickly service the machine and return to spraying faster. And that just equates to more uptime. The integrated technologies allow the machine to more efficiently utilize the chemicals and fertilizers that you're applying, which saves the producer money at the end of the day. Those are just some of the key things as we take a look at the differences between cabs of the RoGator and the John Deere sprayers.
Hey Jeff, that's a great point. Also, something else we want to call out here is you take a look at the master apply switch down there right below the steering wheel, a foot switch control, and then take a look at some of the house and cabin controls up in the upper left-hand corners, your HVAC and your lighting controls, where a John Deere sprayer is very accessible from the armrest area, so you're never having to really leave control of the steering wheel or the hydro handle for very long to be able to engage with those cabin controls. Also, with, as you mentioned earlier, is being able to reach up and touch that screen up there. You know, it's not right at your fingertips. If you have to go from that hydro handle up to that display, to that Raven display, especially bouncing through a rough field, that's quite a reach. So as an operator, you know, keeping your hand on that hydro handle and having a positive control, and even now with the integrated Gen 4s and our newer hydro handles, you can actually control some of the pages from that hydro control. So really the integration and the seamless integration, less monitors, less clutter in the cab, you know, really you can start to see the differences here.
All right, as we take a look at the case sprayer that we used in our comparisons here, this is inside the cab of Case's 4440 sprayer. It's one of their newer sprayers that they have available for customers today. Here's you sit inside the cab. They do provide a nice, I guess, comparable leather air ride seat for moving throughout the field, so operator comfort is acceptable in this scenario. As we take a look at the visibility outside of the cab, they do have good visibility out through the cab, through the glass. As you take a look at the booms, they sit somewhat level on the outside of the cab in terms of visibility. You can still see over them, so as far as operational and safety concerns, they do a nice job there. As we take a look throughout the cab and take a look at the hydro handle here, pretty simple hydro handle for boom functions and spray master control. A lot of the additional switches and controls are bigger toggles found to the right hand side of the hydro handle, so It was still a little bit manual and clunky, if you will, in terms of finding the right switches and buttons to press as you move throughout the field. Not only on the side console, but in the upper right-hand side of the cab as well. You've got your temperature controls, your lighting, and radio are also up there as well. As you take a look at the cab itself, they do have a 40-degree right-hand swivel seat and a foldable instruction seat as well. They do have a lack of integrated technology here, and you do see the case display that's on there. We see the options for Raven Viper 4s, AFS Pro 700s, or SCS 5000 controllers. Here you can see Raven's newest display in the cab here, but again, if there's an issue, you've got non-integrated technology, and so again, the green on green advantage to, if there's an issue with the technology or the machine, it's coming from the same company. That's huge. So the other thing is it does take up some of the visibility outside of the cab as we take a look at where that screen is, and also being able to see the functions and features off of the corner post. They've stacked a lot of information up on that corner post about the machine because it doesn't necessarily show up on the display like Deere's does, so they have to stack it up there on the corner. The other thing you'll notice about the Case Patriot sprayer here is a little bit of a creature comfort thing, but all of your air vents are right up in front on the steering console. If you look up above, there really isn't anything up above you. When you go to the Command View 2 Plus cab, we have air vents really all over in that cab, but a lot of it's centralized around the operator station from on top of the cab blowing down. Take a look at just airflow throughout the cab. That's a difference that we call out as well. As we take a look at mirrors for safety going down the road, on the Patriot sprayer, we do have 2 mirrors coming off of the cab roof, as well as 1 mirror on each side of the machine on the boom.
Thanks, Jeff. As you notice too in this machine, you take a look at the cabin controls up there on the right-hand side. Once again, you have to move your arm quite a ways to be able to change your temperature in the cab or turn your lighting on and off. So just some different control placement there than what you can do on the John Deere with the programmable hydro handle and on the buttons on the armrest. They're a cab forward design. So, the engine's in the rear, the cab sits forward. So if you take a look, the one thing you don't notice in this picture are the wheels, because you're sitting right on top of that front axle. So visibility to the wheels as you're driving through standing crop can be a challenge.
That's the interesting part on this sprayer is you've got a manual throttle on the right hand side that you're moving back and forth, and with Deere, once you set it to go through the field for the field operation mode, and then it just automatically adjusts it to run. It's kind of a set it and forget it with the Deere sprayer.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, that command drive being able to regulate to what the machine needs in the conditions you're in right now. So even on the road, you might be going down the road at 1600 RPM versus running at that 2200 RPM wide open.
The other thing I noticed with this sprayer when I sat in it, and you kind of called it out, is on the switch panel in the upper right hand side. Because I'm the technology guy, to enable auto steer, there's a switch up there for it. And the John Deere display, we arm our auto steer right in the display itself. So again, tying it right in with the technology, it's integrated into the machine. It's just one less reach, button push, did I forget to flip that on or not type of thing when you go with the Deere sprayer.
Of those machines, I know, Jeff, for me, some of my favorite parts of sitting in a John Deere cab, especially on the sprayers, is the visibility going down the road. And we look at the Hagie cab, also the visibility of the boom in front of you gives an operator a real sense of security, knowing where his machine is and also where the boom is, to, again, underestimate, or underline, I should say, the safety aspects of our machines, whether you're on the road or in the field, determining and make sure we're doing a good quality job.
Right, and especially as more of our customers are spraying earlier in the day, later at night, and sometimes through pre-emerge applications go through the night. We do have the LED lighting options as well. And LED lights are now in base for new machines for the Command View 3 cabs for John Deere and also for Hagie now as well. So if you're wondering about when that change happened, it was back in 2017. We went to the Command View 3 cabs. So John Deere keeps making the best better, really, when it comes to cab and user experience out there as well.
Absolutely. One of the things we hear oftentimes anytime anybody gets into a John Deere machine for the first time, or even after a long season off, getting back into the cabs again, is the comfort inside the machine. One of the big parts of the success of the comfort of the cab is the John Deere seat. In the Premium 3 cab, we've got a Comfort Command seat that is heated and ventilated, which, again, for long days inside the cab, with hot days out on days like today, really,
right,
helps keep the operator cool. It's a lot easier to spend a long day sitting in the seat when you're comfortable. And also that air ride cushion inside the seat as well just provides an unmatched level of ride quality.
One of the other things that we want to call out that I was actually able to experience here lately and is now available on new John Deere sprayers is where the engine is actually going to idle itself back a little bit, right? So you're not constantly running wide open throttle when you're operating the sprayer going down the road. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So John Deere's feature called Command Drive was released last year, and it came to the R4045 and the R4060 sprayers. Now going into model year 21, the whole sprayer portfolio, R4030 and up, is going to have the Command Drive platform. Single hydraulic motor allows for a quicker response rate in between if you get into conditions where the wheels slip, and then also lowering the engine RPMs, raising them when needed, and basically provides a unmatched level of fuel efficiency,
right,
along with decreased noise in the cab.
Right. Yeah, it just makes that cab even quieter yet in the John Deere machine. I especially like the fuel savings part of it. And
Absolutely.
so you will be able to track all that through JD Link with, from a customer perspective, they'll be able to see the savings if they're comparing some in their fleet, or if they're interested in comparisons out of our demo units, we can take a look at some information there as well.
So we're looking at 20% fuel savings just off the top end by reducing the RPMs 2,200 down to 1,1600 RPMs, depending on conditions and if you're full or empty. But
right,
really, really big changes, something we're very excited about going forward.
Well, if you ask me if I could save 20% of my fuel bill, you have my attention. So that's awesome. Just wanted to check real quick. Do we have any questions for the Q&A come in yet? Nothing yet? Okay, great. So Nate mentioned a little bit about the seat. That's great, but there's also a lot of comfort that comes to the operator through the suspension of the machine, and that's really our next section that we're going to get into here.
Absolutely. So it all starts right at the ground. So where the wheels are engaging the ground, that suspension system that sits underneath the machine is really where the John Deere sprayers set themselves apart. And likewise, also the Hagie machines have a stellar suspension system as well. On the Deere side, we're looking at a dual strut suspension, and really what we want to make sure we do is maintain ground contact at all times. The frame on the John Deere and Hagie sprayers does not flex. We're doing it all with individual control of the wheels.
Right. And through some of our examples here, you'll see as we go through the field or through the lot, we set down some blocks on the ground to really get the suspension to compress. And we looked at the differences then on both on the boom and the cab and how the machine reacts going through the field. This is one of my more favorite tests that we did in comparison with the machines. But the interesting thing is when we did this, we had a lot of operators that said, well, I've went over bigger obstacles than that, or I've went faster over them than that. And that was the big thing, is just when you take a look at when the tire hops over it, over the obstacle, take a real close look in some of the comparisons, because the John Deere and the Hagie wheels just get back down to the ground that much faster. So that eliminates any slip or chance of getting stuck, and just keeps that machine positively moving forward in that example. So,
and we're not transferring that movement to the other side of the axle. And it also helps with our boom stability, which we'll get into more detail later. But in this test, the sprayers, we ran them about 6 miles per hour over top of these obstacles, this bump test, if you will.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and take a look at our test here, looking at our suspension on our John Deere, Hagie, and AGCO and Case machines.
So the first set of suspensions that we're going to look at here are from John Deere. And the suspension on the R-Series sprayer on the R4030 that we have in this example, and the R45 are the same. So as we take a look at the features within this suspension, we've got large air springs identical to those used on over-the-road trucks. It allows for up to 8 inches of wheel travel throughout the field. So typically you'll see a 4 inches up and a 4 inches down travel. There's 2 large 3.5 inch diameter struts, and that really provides strength and durability. Some of the other struts that you see in the marketplace today are just not that big. So there's a lot of strength and durability offered here. These independent struts help reduce overall machine height instead of mounting the air springs to a common axle. So it allows the machine to sit in a position that is best for clearance and for accessibility. As you take a look at the clearance on the 4 Series sprayers, the underframe crop clearance of the 4030 is 60 inches and the R4045 is 58 inches. And that really allows for nearly a full season use in most crops. Standard wheeled shields, as you can see down here at the bottom, and optional belly shields allow for smooth crop flow under the machine and tall crop settings. And you'll see some examples that we have later on of other machines that have ran through crop and their wheel motors are full of crop material. So it helps it stay cooler, and it also improves the longevity of the performance of these components. John Deere sprayers also have auto air spring leveling systems, so it auto air levels the sprayer as it goes through different terrains. The operator doesn't have to individually fill each bag. It does it automatically through the onboard air system. You can see how it senses that through the rod on the back side of the suspension system here. And the other great thing is that on the back of the machine there's a switch located near the solution loading system that deflates all 4 bags at once. So when it comes to transporting this machine, we can throw that switch and then head down the road with it on a trailer. So let's go ahead and take a look at this machine in action. So for our test, we laid a couple blocks down on the ground and we got our sprayer up to between 5 and 6 miles an hour operating speed and had the sprayer run over the blocks to simulate a bump in the field. As you can see, the John Deere R4030 handles it pretty well. Again, 4 inches up and 4 inches down of suspension with the system. Just these simple blocks, we're able to see how that suspension reacts as we move throughout the field. You can also see as Nate's in the operator station here, he's pretty comfortable, he's pretty centered, he's not getting rocked real bad as he moves over this obstacle for this test. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is that boom. As we went over the bump, the outer breakaways gave just a little bit. It isolated the rest of the boom from the outer tips from swaying. But the boom overall stayed nice and level and centered. And that's big when we get into rough conditions in the field. The more stable we can keep that machine, the more stable the boom is going to be and the more confidence the operator can have. So here's the R4045 going across the same obstacle, about the same speed. The boom stays nice and solid. A little bit more give here with the carbon fiber boom just by design. But one thing as we slow it down, take a look at that wheel and how it gets back to the ground in a pretty quick hurry. That is key for just keeping traction as you go across the field. And the other thing with traction control from John Deere, if it senses that slip, it's going to compensate that. So you don't have one wheel that just has all of the oil going to it and then causing the machine to get stuck. So in terms of performance, this becomes a very big thing that John Deere brings to the marketplace as an advantage. As we take a look at the Hagie suspension, you can see we have a similar spring airbag at the top of this unit, but instead of 2 struts, we now have a chrome-plated inner leg and a precision machine outer leg suspension. So really kind of the 3-legged stool, if you will, when it comes to the suspension with the Hagie. Again, we have the auto air leveling system here up on top, as you can see. It will sense the levelness of the machine and then keep that for the operator to be smooth going through the field. So as we take a look at the Hagie, as it comes up on our obstacle here on the road, we have the booms unfolded. You can see that it does a real nice job in terms of keeping the boom level. The booms are very solid on the Hagie sprayer, just like the Deere. But you can see how that suspension is smooth to react. And as well as we take a look at Nate in the cab here, as he goes across it, a little bit of a movement in the cab, but overall doesn't really rock him all that hard. So as we take a look at the RoGator 1100 that we have here, we have a flex frame with solid axles on air spring. You can see here that we still have an air spring, but again, we're pivoting off of a solid axle on the sprayer. And so as we take this sprayer out and go over the obstacle that we have out on the ground, you can see the effect that it has on the sprayer. A few things that you can see when we compare suspension systems that we want to call out is first the boom response. As you see there as it went by in the video, the boom really rocked hard. The other thing that happened with this sprayer as we went across it is you can see the wheel jump, and it doesn't return to the ground quite near as fast as the dual strut design that you find with the John Deere or the Hagie sprayer. You know, not having that wheel slip is important. We've seen a lot of differences here when we compared the RoGator sprayer. Watch Nate from the cab here as he goes across the obstacle. We almost should have him wearing a hard hat because Nate gets rocked pretty hard in the cab with that solid axle design on this sprayer. So as we take a look at the Case 4440 sprayer, we have a trailing link with spring and shock design on the Case sprayer here. As it rolls across its bump, there's pivoting action on the front side of the axle assembly, and then absorbed by the shock and spring on the back side of that assembly. You can see here that it doesn't come with the shielding over this. It wasn't found on this sprayer or some of the other ones that we found as well. So as we take a look at what this means for sprayers as they move throughout the season, you can see in this other picture that we took of a sprayer that was found more in her working clothes that there's a lot of material buildup around the wheel motor, and then that just causes heat, and that can cause issues and potential downtime for the customer. Here you can see as the sprayer moves over, the new 4440 boom does a pretty decent job of staying level as it moves throughout, but as we go over the bump here, you can see that we do have a lot of movement in the suspension as we move throughout the field. Now once we get into the cab, I think that's where you really feel the difference with the Case 4440. Even though you don't see the operator moving up and down in the seat a lot, it's a lot more fore and aft, and I think that's a result of the suspension design found on the Case Patriot sprayer in comparison to the dual strut design that you find in the Deere or the Hagie machines. So here's a side-by-side comparison of John Deere versus RoGator. Again, a view of the boom reaction as we move over the same obstacle, and the tire of the John Deere sprayer hitting the ground and almost right behind that obstacle versus kind of having the skip over the obstacle that the RoGator had. The other thing that you can see as a comparison between the two sprayers is the amount of movement in that boom as we go over the obstacle, and notice the variation between the two. Not only up and down, but then fore and aft after it goes by. The RoGator sprayer basically pancakes that airbag as it goes over the obstacle, where the John Deere sprayer still has range of motion. Here we have the R4045 against the Case 4440. A little bit better comparison here in terms of the boom reaction, but as the sprayer goes over the obstacle that we put out there, again, the John Deere still has plenty of range of motion, where the Case is essentially all spring. For those looking to compare the R4045 against the Hagie, again, we're dealing with dual strut designs here that, again, isolate the boom and the operator from shock in the cab. So a lot of parallels in terms of control and quality between these two machines.
Nate, are you all right?
think so. I think I rattled a couple cobwebs loose, but
It's kind of some rough hits there, but in all honesty, it was your natural reaction. A lot of those were first takes, and it's actually how you hit the bumps, and you knew they were coming. If you're spraying inside a crop canopy or in a field you don't know, think about washouts, sunken tile lines, rocks, any obstacles in there that you can't see. That's where that suspension, especially at application speed, really becomes important to an operator.
absolutely. Yeah, when you can't see those things coming and you don't brace yourself, sometimes it's better, but sometimes it can be a lot worse.
Yeah.
That comes back to where the suspension we talked about before the video really underestimates, the importance of it for one thing, and then also the seat, like I mentioned before. The independent wheel suspension, the dual strut on the Deere and the single strut on the Hagie machine, you can see how they keep the machine really nice and level. They get that wheel back down to the ground, maintain our traction, maintain our contact. Really important, which leads to a lot of other important parts like the boom.
Yeah, one of the things that during these tests, we didn't have the boom track on or the boom leveling on of any of the machines. So you're really going to see the natural reaction of the boom without any assisted from the hydraulics here. So also, as you take a look at boom clearances and heights of the machine, obviously tire size, wheel size is going to matter on those. So we'll have some specs coming up later just to compare the book specs of them. But as you're watching the videos on the booms and stuff, the height and everything, that's somewhat wheel dependent. But yeah, we're not running boom track. We're not running any boom leveling. So all this testing is independent, just how the booms function as a static system.
Absolutely. And part of that is also going to be boom materials. Now, we used a host of different machines with different boom configurations. So our 90-foot R4030 sprayer, that's an all-steel boom, except for the breakaways are aluminum on a Deere machine. Now, when we look at the Hagie machine, that's a 120-foot hybrid boom on that sprayer. 60-foot interior is steel. The outer 60 foot's aluminum to basically maintain rigidity, but also shed a little bit of weight. Primarily for those high crop applications. If you think about Y dropping and running like an undercover system from 360, that's really where a lot of that comes into play as well. So we also ran the carbon fiber boom, which those of you that haven't had a chance to see it, seeing how the carbon fiber boom reacts is really important. I do think it's important to note also that machine is a 2017. John Deere's made some really big improvements to the cords also on the carbon fiber booms. This year and going into model year 21, that's made a really big improvement also to just keep continuously improving the design of those booms, maintaining rigidity and maintaining really that distance off of the ground to help our spray efficacy.
Absolutely, Nate. Yeah, in our next video here, we're going to take a look at some of the booms and how they react in different tests as well. You want to describe the upcoming tests we have?
You bet. So in this boom, in this video, we're going to look at the booms a little more closely, look at the kind of the fit and function, how the booms are manufactured to a little bit of a level, and then also go into some comparisons about how the booms react. So really good content in this video. We did some tests that really demonstrated kind of the value propositions, if you will. So we'll let the video talk for itself, and we've got a lot more to discuss as well after that.
So the outside section on the John Deere 120-foot boom is actually aluminum. It's also a three-way breakaway versus a standard, usually two-way breakaway. So as you hit things, maybe either coming up as a boom may contact something like the ground and uneven terrain, forward and backwards, depending upon if you're backing your sprayer into a corner or something maybe and catch something, you have that three-way functional breakaway in that outer aluminum boom. Also in that outer aluminum boom section, you'll notice that the hinge points are actually still steel or cast, and then it's got a specialized rivet holding it to the aluminum section. So we're not trying to weld two differentiating metals together. If you look down on the frame itself, there's actually internally there's holes drilled and there's spot welds there. You're just not putting a plate on top of something, you're actually adding something that's got a shear or friction point. And then the continuous seamless weld from the top of the boom there all the way around that radial arc and then back up. Same with on the edges where it comes out to a point like that, just less areas for it to crack. As we compare the Rogator boom to the John Deere boom, you take a look at some of the first things you notice are the weldment differences. Here you have a typical butt type weld. The boom is welded directly to the supporting piece. You take a look on the John Deere side of the boom, you're going to notice some reinforcements, some additional plating steel in there, some reinforcement pieces that stretch out to spread that weld across more than a 2 or 3 inch angle there, across 6 or 8 inches or even a foot of the boom to have a more robust, stronger weld. Also, the tube steel on the John Deere boom is a 1/4 inch thicker than that of the Ag Chem boom on the Rogator. On the John Deere boom, we use 1.25 inch. The case is using a 1-inch thick steel on a lot of their square tubing on their boom. That extra 1/4 inch giving you additional rigidity and strength within integrity within that boom section. Also, if you notice, once again, the case weldments here compared to the John Deere weldments in the styling of the welds. The case does use a more broad-based weld here, but if you take a look at the John Deere frame weldment, once again, you notice the reinforcement and the strength there and the integrity in those welds.
When we look at our carbon fiber booms, the big advantage that we look at is being lighter. Our 120-foot boom is 39% lighter. The 132 boom is 35% lighter. What that really equals is a differentiation in our weight split. When we're fully loaded, it actually equals a shift in our weight split front to rear by 6%. So more balanced machine, which really improves our ride in soft conditions, minimizes the impact to the surrounding crop as we drive through it, and also makes for a more stable machine driving through the field. So a big weight split change with the carbon fiber boom, again, when fully loaded, shifts it to the rear by 6%.
And when you take a look at carbon fiber, one of the hot topics that comes up, and we get questions all the time, is what happens if I damage the boom, Nate?
Yeah, it's a big concern with carbon fiber, but the nice part about it is that these booms are repairable. There's patch kits available that we can repair any part of the carbon fiber boom. The big thing about it is, with it being carbon fiber, we use an epoxy and a rivet system to put the boom back together or to patch it. And the big thing is just having enough cure time for that patch to fully seat. And when we put patches on these booms, the patched area actually becomes stronger than other parts of the boom.
Another test that we did between these sprayers was grabbing the boom and putting some weight on it and seeing how it responded back up into the air and back into its resting position, as well as shaking the boom forward and backwards and seeing how it affected the other side of the boom, as well as the amount of travel within the booms. So here on the John Deere R4030 with the swing link suspension on these sprayers, they're really solid. It took quite a bit for me to push this boom down to the ground. Here you can see the swing link suspension in action, as well as the additional cylinder up there to absorb that side-to-side movement. So I got some help from Nate, and we both pushed down hard on the boom, just about until the boom touched the ground and then let up. And you can see it went up, but it come back to the resting position very quick. Now it took two of us to move this boom forward and backwards, and you can see we were literally shaking the machine itself to even try to get it to move. So the boom was solid in terms of performance, but offered enough flexibility to protect the boom overall. So now we moved over to the R4045 with the 132-foot carbon fiber boom. And here we started pushing on the boom right out about 120 feet, so it was like some of the other ones. It took two of us to apply some pressure here. Again, we've got the swing link suspension on the center rack, so it did a little bit better job of controlling the up and down motion. When we really started yanking on the boom here, forward and backwards, felt like we had a little bit more movement than the R4030, and we've seen a little bit more of that on the other side of the booms. And we hear that from our operators on carbon fiber. You see just a bit more of that response in the field as well. As we take a look at the Hagie sprayer here, this boom was extremely solid as it mounts to the machine. Both Nate and I applied down pressure to the boom, and both of our feet come off of the ground. We weren't able to get that boom down on the ground. When we did the fore and aft push test, we were able to really rock the center of this machine without affecting the other side of the boom very much at all. If there's any sway in the boom, it comes back to its center position very quickly. It is protected by a mechanical 3-direction breakaway for the 120-foot booms, and it does have hydraulic backup and breakaway on the 90-foot booms for these sprayers. As we move into the RoGator here, very little effort. It was just like helping your kids on the teeter-totter. I was able to, just go up to one end of the boom and simply push down on it. My feet didn't come off of the ground, and again, when we started pushing and pulling on the boom, it affected both sides of the sprayer in this situation. So you can see there was an opposite reaction on the other end, where in many of the other sprayers we didn't see that. Now moving into the case 4440 sprayer and doing the boom test here, again up and down. It didn't take a whole lot of force to push it down. You can see that our feet are still on the ground. The thing that surprised me most here was when we pushed the boom back, I expected it to swing back at us fast, and it didn't. And you can see that in the video here, is that there was a large amount of cushion when it returned back to its normal operating state. It did a nice job of isolating the left-hand side of the boom versus the right-hand side of the boom. I personally was impressed by how it handled everything that we threw at it in terms of motion. So as we take a look at both of them in comparison, you can see the difference. With the swing link suspension found on the John Deere, it protects the boom from big sudden movements. It isolates movement from one side to the other. It gives the operator more confidence and provides us a consistent application on the field. So as we take a look at a comparison between the R4045 with that carbon fiber boom and the Case 4440, again, both booms did pretty well in terms of performance in the vertical test. In the horizontal test, the swing link suspension helped protect the John Deere more than what we've seen out of the Case sprayer.
All right. I really like the comparisons between all the booms in this test. You take a look at how things were, we pushed and pulled those booms back and forth. I think I can skip a few days at the gym now, maybe not. But I just being able to see when you push and pull on one end of the boom, what it did on the other side, is an example that really stood out to me. And then just, the ease of being able to push down on that 1100 boom. And it was just so easy to push down on the other end, gave so quick. Mm-hmm. What I was really excited about is just when you take a look at the John Deere and the Hagie sprayers, you really had to push hard. And there's rigidity there, but it's also designed to give at the right time. So it still has a positive placement of chemical when you're going through the field by keeping that boom where it needs to be. But at the same time, if you were to hit something, you got that breakaway at the end of the boom that gives in multiple different directions to help soften the blows there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, the swing link design on our John Deere booms really provides, I've said it before, but unmatched really in how the performance of that boom is. Instead of translating that movement up and down on one side, like on the 1100, and just directly shifting it up on the other side, that boom settles in really nice, and it transitions that more to a slight side-to-side movement. But by suspending that boom, it does not have the same effect as basically putting it on a center pivot and just letting it teeter-totter like you said in the video.
Right, exactly. And with the R-Series sprayers too, we see this advancement in the boom technology in comparison to what we've seen even in the 30 series sprayers prior to that. So for you 30 series, 20 series, 10s, aught series sprayer John Deere owners out there today, if you grab a hold of the boom on an R-Series sprayer, you will immediately notice the difference. And so if you haven't had a chance to demo one of those today, get it out in the field and give it a try. There's definitely a difference that's noticed, if you grab onto the boom like we did, or just directly from the cab as well.
Absolutely. A lot to be said about the design of that boom, both from the flat fold design, the manufacturing quality, but then especially like we talked about in that video and here, it's the stability overall, going through those ruts, going over those bumps, maintaining that boom height when we need. And keep in mind, these videos were the machines were off, boom track was off, and so forth. That's all just natural movement of the boom, the transom, and the chassis.
So we're just going to pause here real quick. Do we have any questions in on the chat? And just bear in mind, everybody, for like we talked about before, if there's any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the Q&A section at the bottom of Zoom here to feed any questions into us. We'd be happy to answer them along the way. And we'll take time at the end of most of our sessions here to do that with all of you. So.
Absolutely. Now, as we look forward, and then, again, we'll answer any questions if they pop through, but when we talk about forces on the boom, that was all sitting static. That's all fine and dandy. What I really want to see is what happens when I come to the head of the field, I turn around and slam that hydro forward. how does my boom react? Or if I'm coming to the end of the field and I pull back really quickly, how does that boom react forward and backward and a little bit of side to side?
Well, it's real world, right?
Yeah.
Because you aren't going to have me out on the end of the boom when you're in the field yanking and pulling on it, right? It's
hope not.
yeah. We need a real world scenario here if something happens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at an acceleration and deceleration test. Now in this one, similar to like we did in the other videos, we're going to be running the machines, trying to put them in. We're in the lots of our dealerships, but we want to put them in kind of real world scenarios. In this case, we're running the machines between 12 to 14 miles an hour and doing a quick stop. And you can see how the booms react and also how the chassis reacts with the different designs between the different manufacturers.
Right. Sounds good. So let's hop back in the cabs and take a walk around the machines as we see them perform in this scenario.
In this test, we're comparing sprayers in the scenario when you're in the field, you're backed into the corner, or you maybe you've just turned around and you lay heavy on the hydro handle to get it going. Or also when you need to stop real quick for an obstacle in the field and you pull back on the hydro handle, the response that we have in the booms. And so here with the R4030, you can see that there's very little movement whatsoever. Now we move to the carbon fiber boom found on the R4045. Again, we'll lay heavy on the hydro handle to get it going. And we pull back hard. See a little bit more forward to rearward movement with the carbon fiber, but not terrible. And you're talking 132 foot boom with this unit, so you got a lot more boom out there to worry about. So this, you see a little bit more flex, but there isn't a terrible amount. So move into the Hagie. Again, very similar to the John Deere sprayer. When we go hard at it, you don't see the booms folding back. And when we pull back hard on the hydro handle, there is not much forward to rearward movement of the boom. It again is a very solid design. So move to the RoGator 1100. This sprayer here, to start off with, the booms angle forward quite a bit. So when you back into a corner, the boom doesn't get into the corner all the way. So when you get going, there was quite a bit of sway in the boom, and when we stopped, it come forward quite a bit as well. As we look down over the boom itself, as we get going here, slow the speed down a little bit, you can see how the boom leans forward quite a bit in that clip. So at the Case 4440, as we took off, this boom's pretty soft. It absorbs a lot of movement, but when we put the throttle to it in the cab and took off hard, the boom really leaned back a long ways. And then when we stopped, as you can see in the clip here, especially in the outer breakaways, it really started to swing forward. So it absorbs a lot, but it also has a tremendous amount of sway fore and aft when we did this test. So we compare the steel to carbon fiber. If you have customers that are, or if you yourself are interested in making a switch to the carbon fiber boom, we didn't see a tremendous amount of difference in the way that boom responded in the acceleration and stop test. Seeing the largest amount of comparison here between the John Deere and the RoGator as the Rogator, again, the boom moved forward quite a ways on. If you're a Deere customer today and you're looking to go to the Hagie sprayer, when we tested this boom out here, again, we did not see a lot of movement fore and aft in the boom, so you shouldn't see performance difference between these sprayers. So if you're looking to take advantage of the high crop capacity of a Hagie, the performance within the boom will be there for you. So as we compare the carbon fiber found on the R4045 versus the Case 4440, again, the softness of that 4440 just makes a big difference. As you can see, that boom really pull forward. It absorbs it well, but again, you get a tremendous amount of movement.
All right, that gives us a pretty decent look at the booms. Now, we should have mentioned this earlier, if any of you are experiencing any leg issue on your end, we're running with as much horsepower as we can on our end. So we are going to make these videos available and the webinar available later as well. We'll provide information back. Because you registered, we can send links directly to you as well. So if you feel like you're missing out on anything, don't worry. We're going to make sure that we've got those videos so you can look at them again as well.
Yeah, so let's get back to talking about the booms though, because this is, again, the real world scenario, and you talk about product placement. And, you know, a lot of times we think about section control where it turns the boom on and off, but in this video, it really calls out the times where we need the boom to stay where it needs to stay. And even though we've seen, you know, the Case boom, when we pushed and pulled on it, how it absorbs some of that movement. When you start to really push hard on that sprayer or pull back hard on it, you can see that boom just come out. That tip was almost in line with the front tire. It just, you really give up a lot in terms of product placement. So whether it's, you know, your new Chevy pickup sitting in front of the boom and you don't want to hit it, or it's, you know, mom's petunias and you need to make sure the sprayer's off, you're risking a lot, I think, when you talk about product placement and where that boom needs to start or stop when you're moving through the field. Whereas you look at the John Deere and the Hagie booms, again, just spot on. And even after we stopped, there wasn't a lot of wiggle back and forth then either. They just stayed right where they needed to.
Absolutely. The place we did see a little bit of movement on the John Deere booms is on the carbon fiber. Based on the design of it and also that lightweight feature of that boom, does give a little bit of shifting to a little bit more movement. But that boom is also designed to have a little bit of movement to it, kind of a little bit on the up and down as well, because it doesn't have the structure of a steel boom. So just the trade-offs that you also have to look at depending on what you're looking for. That carbon fiber boom, like I mentioned in the video as well, is available up to 132 foot on the John Deere sprayers as well. Right. Versus on the Hagie side, if you look at that, the 132 foot is available now in a hybrid version, steel interior, aluminum exterior. So big differences there as well. Yeah, especially when in this comparison with the John Deere, we're carbon fiber the whole way through. So designed to be a little more fluid there in terms of the way it moves through the field. So obviously, you know, even just coming out of the gate, when you take a look at the boom design, you see the John Deere and the Hagie are straight. And you got more of a V design with the Case and the Rogator. So it's designed so when you take off, there's some flex in that. But when you go into the corner, if I got weeds up in the corner, I want to spray them all. I don't want to have a little triangle pattern left at the end of the day. So highly important, just making sure that boom's straight. And that's the advantage that Deere and Hagie bring to the marketplace there with just hitting all corners. Definitely. Yeah, and if our boom is moving when we don't want it to move, think about our height control systems. All these tests we did with our boom track and our NORAC turning off, when you add that additional component into the equation, that can have really big effects as you go through rolling hills or even some of the quick dips that we looked at in some of the earlier clips as well.
Right, so let's move into talking about a feature of the boom that deals directly with uptime, which is real important with spraying, right? You know, Matt made mention earlier of the window that we have to apply in. That's big, and really when we take a look at some of the things with the boom, it's about the time it takes to fold and unfold the boom safely and get you applying in the field. And so our next text is going to show some of those examples.
Absolutely. So the John Deere and the Hagie sprayers, we're going to look at and talk about the auto fold features, which is important not only for uptime, but also ease of use for the operator. You can take a new operator, put them in any of these 4 Series John Deere sprayers, and the folding process is the same across the board. And it's basically a 2-button press and hold, does the whole fold and unfold sequence by itself.
In some sprayers that we work with our customers on today, we found that they spend 30% of their time idling. And some of that is filling, right? Some of it's warming it up, some of it's servicing it, but some of it is folding and unfolding that machine as you go to the field. So let's take a look at the differences that AutoFold can make in any operation and how the John Deere and Hagie sprayers show themselves as industry leaders.
Another item that we felt set the John Deere sprayer apart, along with the Hagie, was the boom fold times compared to the competition. So to demonstrate this, we did a fold test with each one of the sprayers. So first here you can see that there is a 2-button push to fold and unfold the booms with AutoFold. There is a button on the floor that Nate is pressing, and then holding down the button on the hydro handle will automatically unfold the boom. This is available in R Series sprayers, which is another reason if you have a 30 Series sprayer today that you might want to take a look at going to R Series, but very quick fold and unfold times. And it also is a very smooth operation. You see the booms aren't coming in too fast or too slow. The speed at which they're operating is really good. So when you go to unfold the carbon fiber boom from John Deere that we had on the R4045, this boom unfolds differently than many of the other ones. But again, it's impressive how quickly you can take a 132-foot boom and get it ready to spray in the field. The folding design, again, meant to be as low profile as possible for safety, but it also is very smooth. To protect the boom and all of the folding points on this boom. So at the Hagie sprayer, you have the option for automatic folding and unfolding, or you can do it with just the manual switches that have traditionally been in the Hagie. We have options to do either or with the sprayer. The auto fold option, and again, gives you the advantage of time and efficiency when you go to the field. Boom design, very straightforward, and the way that it folds does sit just a little bit higher when you have everything up in the air getting it ready to fold. Again, being a high clearance sprayer, you just need to be a little bit more mindful of your surroundings. Folding and unfolding the Rogator 1100 sprayer was a little bit more of a challenge. Using the buttons on the hydro handle to get the booms out of the cradle, and then unfolding the booms, we had the larger switches on the side. So very mechanical, definitely took a lot more time in making sure you were pressing the switches the right way, kind of had things in motion. If you wanted to get real fancy, you could push all 4 boom unfold buttons at the same time on the side while operating the hydro handle, but you had to be pretty coordinated to get it all to work. The other thing you'll notice is that when this boom unfolds, it's not real soft in how it unfolds the outer wings, and so when they come in and come out, there's a lot of kind of slapping and banging going on that eventually over time will add more wear and tear to that boom for the customer. The Case 4440 sprayer was a pretty smooth process for getting it out of the cradle and unfolding, the boom on this sprayer. I was the one that did the test here, and it was pretty easy and straightforward for a newer Case user like myself. However, the time that it took to do all of that was longer than both John Deere sprayers with their auto folding features, even with the 132-foot carbon fiber boom. So as we did a head-to-head comparison of the John Deere versus the RoGator 1100 sprayer, we timed them to see who could get their booms unfolded first and ready to the field to spray. So a simple head-to-head comparison. Again, you can see the RoGator got the inners folded out and down first, but again, we still have to get those outer tips unfolded all of the way, and then we can level the boom tips out for spraying purposes. So again, the John Deere sprayer with the auto fold feature gets that sprayer to the field and applying before others on the market today. So here in the head-to-head comparison between the R4030 and the RG1100, you can see as the booms come in close to the cab with the John Deere sprayer, it's nice and smooth. With the RoGator sprayer, we've got a bit more movement in the booms and shaking back and forth, again affecting the longevity of that sprayer boom. So on our larger boom sprayers, the R4045 with the carbon fiber and the Hagie, again, we'll just take a look at unfold times here. The Hagie is very quick to get unfolded, but again, just moving the main parts of the boom forward and then the outers coming out, where the R4045 has an additional break in the boom that folds here for the point of safety and efficiency of unfolding. So it does just take a little bit longer than the Hagie to get into that spraying position, but again, faster than our other sprayers in the test. So as we compare the John Deere R4045 against the Case 4440 sprayer in terms of folding back up at the end of the day, it looks like the Case sprayer would beat the John Deere folding up all the way, but just as we've done our testing, we found that that wasn't the case, and the Case sprayer does take longer to get folded and back into the cradle position against the John Deere sprayer, even with auto fold on both machines. Statistics would show today that the John Deere R4045 can fold and unfold in 30 seconds, where the 4430 Case sprayer is going to fold in just about 60 seconds and unfold in 48 seconds. When you look at it, John Deere is better by 47% in folding and 37% in unfold times. Also, when you think about the minimum boom height that they can run through the field, John Deere can get down to 16 inches, where the Case sprayer can get down to 19. The difference in the booms and the time that you spend in the field just folding and unfolding can be a big difference in the amount of time that you can actually apply.
You know, Nate, the weather window's been tightening. The last few years, we're getting less and less days to apply and be out there in the field working, you know, throughout the summer and spring and even fall. And you take a look at, you know, at 10 miles an hour, which is a relatively slow application speed at a 120-foot boom, we're covering approximately 2.4 acres every minute. You know, so think about how much time you spend folding and unfolding and that lost production, you know, that starts to add up.
Absolutely. That's talking with experienced operators too. You know, if we take a look at, say it takes an additional 30 seconds to fold, an additional 30 seconds to unfold, you start adding that up 5, 10 fields in a day, depending on where you farm at or where you operate at, that can add up to 10, 20, even more acres a day, which you talk cost of ownership on machines, along with just general productivity, it makes a really big difference.
Yeah, not only that, but you know what, the auto fold and it eliminates the errors that an operator can make. Obviously, you still need to be aware of your surroundings, but as you're going through and you're manually folding a boom in and out, you know, there's risk for error there, pushing the wrong button, and you also notice the machine doesn't feather so well when you do a manual fold. It gets to the end and there's a lot of slamming of the boom and things like that. So think about what that's doing to that boom over a long-term time of folding and unfolding it multiple times.
Without a doubt. Now we talk about simplicity. One of my favorite parts about John Deere equipment is what we call a green on green advantage. And when we look at our competitors, especially compared to John Deere, green on green advantage with our precision ag products is really where John Deere products shine. Having integrated auto steer, GPS receivers, row sense, vision row sense, there's a lot of things that can increase productivity out in the field. And if we look at, depending on what model of machine you have in a competitor model, their mountings can also be a little bit loose, and the fit and finish on the machines give a little bit. So we're going to start taking a look, give you a little bit of a teaser on the precision ag side. Again, Thursday we're going to be talking at noon Central Time about precision ag in a little more depth. But here we're going to take a look at our precision ag in our Starfire 6000 receiver, and then also look at the service side of the machines a little bit and what we can provide with our connected support offerings. So let's dive into our GPS receiver and maintenance videos.
The John Deere Starfire 6000 easily fits on universally to all John Deere sprayers and interfaces with many of the John Deere displays that you find in our sprayers. Couple this with the already included John Deere Gen 4 family of displays, and you have a great combination to go to the field with for precision ag technology. In comparison to the John Deere Starfire 6000, which securely latches to the top of the John Deere sprayer cab, so we take a look at other sprayer models, you can see that the antenna on top of the cab is simply magnet mounted. And speaking with many operators that have this set up today, this antenna can loosen itself from the cab and be found commonly hanging between the rear of the cab and the solution tank. Servicing this antenna can also be very difficult, as you have to stand on the railing and lean on top of the cab just to gain access to it. At C&B Operations, we surround this technology with unparalleled support. With training at our dealerships, to a specialized precision ag team, to having a support center that is on call to support you with any of your precision ag related questions, C&B is committed to being your dealer of choice. Another thing with each one of our JD Link enabled sprayers is we put a PowerGuard maintenance plan on each one of these sprayers. And what that does is it looks at the hours that are on the machine and ties it to John Deere recommended service intervals for that particular machine. The great part is this all becomes digital, and it's available through the John Deere Operations Center Maintenance Manager app or the Maintenance Manager app on your phone. So here we have an example of utilizing this in the field. You can actually scan the serial number of the machine right on your phone, and it'll pull up that particular machine that you're looking at. Here you can see the serial number of the machine, the engine hours, and the service intervals for each one of those engine hours. Here you can see at 250 hours, there's a factory plan, and there's 5 different tasks that we may be looking at. You know, since we're sitting at 264 engine hours, that may have been done, so we'll just hop down to the next service interval, and here's the different tasks that John Deere recommend that you take a look at. Not only are there tasks that we need to complete, you can check mark them as you complete them. And since it's tied to your login information, it will timestamp it with your name that you were the one that completed that task. You also then can take a look at a list of parts that would be associated to this service interval. So not only do we have the part, but we have the quantity listed on the side. From here, you can hit order parts at the bottom of the screen, which is directly linked to C&B Central. So you can order your parts online, have them delivered to the dealership or directly to your house. This makes ordering parts through C&B simple and easy. So from here, you can also add in your own repair or your own task for that matter. Let's say we did something to do with the cab. We went out and we dusted the cab out. Maybe we cleaned the windows, just a simple task like that can be added into the Maintenance Manager app. So any work that's been done to the machine can be simply tracked through the My Maintenance app. So when it comes to crop care, timing is everything. And one thing we want to make sure we eliminate is any downtime in your operation. And when utilizing John Deere products, there's a lot of technology that keeps your machine up and running in the field. Should you encounter a problem, we have JD Link on John Deere sprayers. And if a code pops up, it will alert the dealership. So here we're going to go into the display and take a look at the code that just popped up on the sprayer. So the operator can verify that there's an alert. Next, at the dealership, you'll see that the alert popped up for our service manager. They can see where your machine is at in the field. They can look up the code, and it'll also tell you the associated parts with that code that may be needed to complete the repair. So when they arrive, they know exactly what they need to look at, what the problem might be, and that's our focus and commitment to keeping you up and running throughout the crop care season.
Jeff, you saw in those videos there, John Deere's connected supports, the ability to retrieve codes remotely, see proactive alerts being set up. That's all enabled through a free offering of JD Link access. You guys at the dealership can enable any 3G or 4G MTG with the JD Link access subscription for free. That's going to give the operator those remote code diagnostics, the ability for technicians to remote into that machine, and remote display access. Because a lot of times it's a settings or something maybe we can even talk the operator through on the phone, but being able to visualize and see that screen makes it quite a bit easier.
Right, absolutely. And we've had a lot of conversations where, the guy that understands the technology the best gets the phone call, and, if he's driving 10 to 15 minutes out to the machine to get it set right, you do it right from your phone, your computer, your tablet. You can see the display and help the operator through what they're looking at. So the other part of that is just being able to access that maintenance on your phone and keep track of all of your maintenance records is huge. So we take a look at, some of the expert alerts. We've got an example of a fan belt wear. We've had customers that, we've received the expert alert, say, hey, your fan belt's wearing out. You probably should replace it before it blows apart. And they say, that's no big deal. A few days later, they're standing at the parts counter with a drive belt in their hands or the fan belt there. So yeah, it makes a big difference when we can be proactive in this and eliminate some of the downtime.
You bet. And some of the things we talked about in the uptime, greaseless bushings, the ability to add power guard to some of these machines on the used side or even on the new side up front, extend that factory warranty out there. Also the corrosion resistance frame, from the factory, be able to apply the corrosion resistance to help eliminate some of that where you're running in a caustic environment with these sprayers. And then finally, the center greasing on that center frame, we've eliminated a lot of the grease points when we went to the swing arm style versus center pivot, help reduce some of that maintenance time.
And you don't have to climb around on the sprayer to get to the Zerks too. Sometimes I feel like you're on a jungle gym or whatever, and it's nice all in one spot, one center bank.
You bet. For a shorter person like myself, that sprayer boom's a ways up there, Jeff. And
right.
We're not all 6'10" like you.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, you take a look at just serviceability on a machine. There's kind of a grade to this based upon location, access, operation, and frequency of the service times for a machine that we get a serviceability score assigned to the machine. And with the statistics that we have up here, John Deere is 18% better than the next closest competitor. They're 10% better than any prior John Deere model, and they got 70% fewer Zerks compared to, you know, some of the prior models that we've had in our lineup as well. So that's huge when you talk about the number of tubes of grease you have to run around with, and you can just do it all from one common location on the machine.
Absolutely.
So we take a look at some of the machine specs again here. We've got basically all of the larger sprayers from each of the manufacturers up here. And we also did some of the comparisons with today. And I just want to draw out a few of those examples here that we see. And with the R4045, just starting off with horsepower right away, we bring a lot of power to the field for this machine. We also have the largest fuel capacity here as well. Which is big in terms of how long can you stay in the field. Right up there in the ranks with maximum transport speed, so just getting to the field is important. I was surprised that the max transport speed on the case wasn't a little bit higher actually with that machine, but so you also take a look at clearance down here on the bottom with these machines. Obviously Hagie brings the industry leading clearance to the marketplace. And again, this depends on tire sizes as well, but you know, obviously some key things to take a look at when we compare these machines side to side. So when we take a look at the top three things that we want to take away from today's session, there's three main things. First off, John Deere and Hagie, industry leading in cab visibility and operating comfort.
You bet. You know, and that boom performance, you know, even in the roughest conditions, you know, we put a whole Jeff Buick on the boom there, new unit of weight measurement. And, you know, you really saw how that boom reacted in a static position without any, hydraulic assistance or anything. So we're really looking at that boom integrity, you know, if you're out there in those rough conditions and maybe some times when it's not ideal being out there.
Right. Definitely. And for me, it's really service that's quick, easy, and intuitive. We can take and grease that whole entire sprayer boom while the machine is folded. We can reach it all from the ground. We don't all have to be, we're just using units of Jeff Buick. We don't have to be one Jeff Buick tall to reach them either. And it's really quick, easy service intervals. A couple shots once a day on those main center ones, and that's it. The rest of it's an annual maintenance on the boom fold, greaseless bushings.
Right. So as a thank you for being a part of today's session, we've got a few specials on sprayers that we want to present to each one of you. So Nate, you want to walk us through a few of these examples?
You bet. I know you can't read the writing on the screen, so we're going to send these slides out when we get done. First one we want to mention, speaking of carbon fiber sprayers, this machine's out in Mitchell, South Dakota. It's a 2017 model. We've recently just repriced this machine. Have a sale price today of $350,000. Now this one is decked up. It's got Exact Apply, again, the 120-foot carbon fiber option. So a really nice sprayer. If you're looking at jumping up or reducing your weight on the rear end of your sprayer, this is a nice, great option. Okay, if we look at our next machine, going a little bit older, but a 4930 sprayer, this machine actually does have the same auto fold feature, different style of boom, but same auto fold option. We're looking at a 90-foot boom, a 20-inch spacing on this sprayer that is located in Jackson, Minnesota. It does have duals all the way around, which is kind of unique and not something necessarily that most people would put on. So this machine is equipped with it. One nice feature on this one to call out, we didn't talk about it today, but it's got load command on it. Load command is a 4-inch fill option. It can fill this sprayer up in under 4 minutes. So pre-emerge applications, this machine can outrun a liquid floater every day of the week. So it's a really nice feature with this one. Our sale price today on that machine is $106,900. Really great to get into a 2,700-hour machine. Okay, if we look at our third machine, that's a 4730 sprayer in Jackson, Minnesota again. This one does have a 120-foot boom on it. Now, that's not a factory option. This did have aluminum boom extensions put on it, but it is 120 foot. 1,586 hours, so a really nice low-hour machine here. It does have a chemical ejector, really nice machine, 245 horsepower, 800-gallon capacity. It's a poly tank, a really, really nice machine, again, at our Jackson, Minnesota location. Recently repriced at $95,000, and you'll see that that one is really, really aggressively priced. Really recommend taking a look at that one. Finally, we have one more machine. Again, it's a 2017 R4045 sprayer. This machine has a 2630 in it. It's a 20-inch sprayer. It's got the automated solution command system that we'll talk in more detail during our class tomorrow. And this one is a really nice option. 1,200-gallon sprayer, 3-inch front fill. Again, a really nice option for your farm if you're looking at upgrading or going into a new machine. $256,000, again, just recently repriced. And again, we'll send these slides out. A lot of really, really competitively priced equipment if you're looking at making any kind of upgrade soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nate. And we want to make sure that all of you tune in tomorrow at noon Central Standard Time to learn more about John Deere Solution Systems and ExactApply for your operation. On behalf of Matt, Nate, myself, and all of us at CNB Operations, thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.